Yeah.
You know, so I remember we had a very candid conversation this week, and you were like, I was like, I love this media. And you were like, you sure? Because it's like when they coming at you in the comments, like, are you going to be okay with that? And I was like, you know, in this season in general,
Mm.
I just feel like I'm turning 30 next year. I'm more comfortable with myself. So it's like, do I really care about what other people, or am I doing this for other people's approval?
Mm.
And if I am going down that path, then I need to reevaluate myself, because now it's not genuine.
Wow.
And we're gonna have a conversation later on about authenticity, talking about trending topic, but that really made me reflect. So I've been at peace with the posting, with the content and everything. And that's why I've been kind of like fixated on us being our authentic self, but still being not necessarily received, but it's just like it's the message is going out there with the numbers. I don't care what they're saying, but it's just the fact that the message is being shared.
Right.
So whether or not you agree with the take or you don't, it's starting a conversation. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of media, is to start the conversation.
100%. And just to your point, I think one thing that I'm embracing is just my voice, right? If people agree with it or not, like I'm embracing that, because actually you had a big role. You played a big role in this when you was like, bro, it's stirring up the pot so much because it's a different take, and I gotta embrace that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what when we look at the biggest people to do it, like the Charlemagne's, the academics, right? Even the people that Kevin Samuel, you know what I'm saying? Like, those people, they stood out because they were different. And like, yeah, a lot of people might not agree with it at first, but you got to embrace that. And I'm learning to embrace the differences because, yeah, people might come at me crazy, but eventually they'll start to learn who I am or not, but I'll start to have my own audience, right? And at first, like, again, not saying I didn't care, but we're all human, right? So it's like, man, I just don't feel like that today.
Yeah.
But nah, like, you got to embrace that. If that's who you are, dive deep into it.
And you said that.
Pause.
You said that.
That was crazy. I'm about to die.
It's one a show, bro. At least one. But as you were talking about that, you said a few episodes ago that you were getting comfortable with being a disruptor.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, we need disruptors in this society. We need disruptors and people that are willing to shift the norm, because sometimes you get complacent with the norm. And I had a conversation with one of my coworkers a few weeks ago, and we were talking about a situation, and I think they were like, I've heard worse, or I've seen worse. And I remember in that moment, I could have just been quiet, but I was like, that doesn't make it okay.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you've seen worse, that still doesn't mean that you should create that environment.
Yeah.
And I found myself like very passionate about that take. And I just thought to myself, like, what if I had not said anything? What if I would have just like affirmed that thought? Like, oh yeah, I've seen way worse, so you should be okay. Like, nah, like we need to shift this norm. We need to move away from that abusive type of, I mean, I understand tough love, but it's like from an abusive standpoint. I'm not telling people to be soft, but you can be candid. But Gary Vee talks about it in one of his books. He's like, kind candor. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I'm gonna be honest and transparent and very direct about what you did, but I'm gonna lead with love.
Of course.
So just conversations in that way, I think you start to understand the role of being a disruptor and why that pushes the culture forward in a positive way.
Wow, no, that's a fact. And like, as long as I know, again, like you said, leading with love, I know for a fact all my messages, even if they're a little aggressive, it's still leading with love, right? I'm passionate about what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't think I have that issue. It's just, I think differently, and that's cool, and I'm embracing that. We walking in the new season. I said this on my gram. In this new season, we promoting our business, right? Without being scared, without feeling no way. We going hard for what we believe in. We're standing on our business, on our morals, and we also standing on our boundaries. Listen, in this new season, bro, it's gonna look very, not different, but it's gonna look very consistent in how we feel and who we are.
And structured, right? Consistent. There's structure in it, and there's not a zeal, but like a joy to do the work. And I think that's important.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
I don't know what season we're in with podcasting. I'm gonna be honest, right?
Okay.
I don't. Everybody always be like, "Man, what do you think the future of podcasting?" I don't know. I'm just doing what I do, right? Until I can't do it no more. I did a few calls, right, and I feel like I've known this, but every now and again, it's a reminder when people say it. So what I'm saying is, I did a couple calls. I'm like, man, I remember when you first started doing podcasts. That's really when I started like following you, Gemini Scorpio podcast. Mind you, I was doing freestyles before that, right? So there's a lot of people who know me for that, but it's a lot of people who know me for the Gemini Scorpio podcast, right? And I'm like, yo, that really had a hold on people, even if it wasn't the biggest or crazy amount of numbers. It clearly had an impact. And I was just wondering, like, damn, like, do you think we can do that again? Not the Gemini Scorpio podcast itself, but like that, what we had, that moment.
That with this?
Yes.
Yes and no. I think no in the aspect of the dynamic and the conversations that you were having was so real because y'all were living it, right?
Mm.
So like from that dynamic of a relationship, obviously not.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think yes, from the aspect of authentic and genuine conversations about where we are currently and how we're evolving and communicating that in the most healthiest way possible, absolutely.
I want to ask you a question.
What?
First of all, men are weird, just weird, bro. It's like, I was just joking out of them, like, damn, a nigga can't even say congratulations to what I was saying, Paul. It's like, hey, we're sick, bro. I can't. But anyway, so I was talking to somebody, right? And she was like, she believes this, you in your life is always two different type of soulmates. Like, you have two soulmates. Of course, the intimate soulmate, but it's also that soulmate of like friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn. And she was telling me like her best friend is she really believes her best friend is our soulmate. I'm like, in that case, I think Alex might be my soulmate. But in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my
What the fuck are you talking?
This man.
Because the way she was explaining, like, comes easy is like somebody that like got your back, but it's no pressure. It's easy. I'm like, damn, like that's my friend. Like that's somebody that's like, because I got a lot of friends. Not like I got a few male friends. I mean, good friends too.
Yeah.
But some friends is like, I can't take too much. Like they got
in seasons. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Alex is probably one of the only ones that's like, it's just easy. It's like I don't think we ever had a disagree. I don't know. I feel like we had to disagree before, but I don't remember.
We disagree, but it's like, okay. You'll be like, it's like we're going, because we're very strong-willed individuals, but we know how to articulate our emotions, but we also give room for the other to talk. And I feel like in society, people be cutting you off, but one thing within that conversation,
shut the fuck
like, but I feel like in this stage, actually, E was mad about it one day, and I remember this because I remember we were having a conversation, and I said something, and he was like, "You don't shut the fuck up." He was like, "But if this is Jay and he was on the podcast, you let that nigga talk." And I was just sitting there like, damn, this nigga right though. That was kind of tough. I shut the fuck up. At that moment, I was like, damn, you got me. But yeah, no, I really feel like it's because we create the space where it's like, all right, you say your piece, I say my piece. It'll go back and forth for as much as possible, but there's still that space for you to clearly articulate how you feel about a situation.
But also, right? I think I said this on the last episode. And nothing, I'm mad you said his name, but nothing wrong with E, right? But again, I don't know. But y'all been friends since y'all was kids, right?
Yeah.
So I can't say that then. Because I'm like, sometimes, again, some people, or I can say this because y'all might not have had that dynamic where, like I said, you might come to me with an idea where somebody else comes to me with an idea, but like, yo, you ain't earned this.
Yeah.
You ain't earned me to be like, all right, bet, I'm going to just go with it. Right? And that could be my friend for years. And I'm not saying we should all have to be working to earn trust and things like that, but it just, it's a feeling I can't really explain. It's like, yo, sometimes you work with somebody, you build that chemistry, so it's like, if he say something, it's like, man, I don't know, but they earned the try, right? It's gonna sound crazy. You might not have earned to shut the fuck up. Cause like, I don't know, it might be something that you did or triggered me that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a pattern. So it's like when somebody you know, not saying you ain't think he has your best interest, but I don't know, I'm making up shit at this point. But like sometimes when you feel safe, pause, this is crazy, but because we're talking about men, right? But sometimes when you don't feel safe, you have this emotional trigger, and we don't mean no harm, that is like fight or flight, right? So even I want to hear you. I want to do the right thing, but like, because you haven't shown me that I can do the right thing, my mind is playing tricks on me saying you got to fight or flight when that's not right.
I think it's circumstantial too, right? So natural defense, we're on the defensive often, especially as men, because we often feel like we're being attacked, right? Mm-hmm. So if you come from a position where you're constantly being attacked, naturally you're on defense mode. You're ready to fight back.
And we're not saying that this is okay, because y'all might take these words out and use it as excuses.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
This
right.
don't mean that it's okay. We're
And-
saying we understand the action.
The dynamics, right. But I feel like in that particular situation, one, I was drunk. So got to factor that in.
That's
I got to
way-
leave
yeah,
with
that's
that.
good. Yeah.
So I'm like passionate about the topic that because we're talking about relationships during that time, not without going too much into the actual conversation. So what was said triggered me.
Yeah.
So I was passionate about the conversation. So I'm like trying to get my point across because when I'm drunk, I'm like, I don't want to forget this. But then two, I actually care about this. A lot of shit I don't care about.
Facts.
So I just be like, I don't
Okay.
care. But you actually get me to care about a particular topic, bro. You're gonna see the energy, you're gonna see the passion and everything in between. So that was just that moment. And you live and you learn. I apologized. I was like, my bad, bro.
Oh.
You was right. I'm gonna shut the fuck up next
Yeah,
time.
and sometimes we need those because it's like, and this is some things that I think you can get from the dynamic of men, right? Because you tell that to a woman, right? She tries to use that against you or like gaslight the situation, like or point the finger like you're gaslighting, right? Like don't bring up something else that we're talking about this, and I understand that, right? But however, men are able to hear things differently because you could very much so like, bro, now you're gaslighting, you know what I'm saying? But that word, like, it's a reality to it. It's like, yo, if this was Jay, you would, you know what? Logical sense making is like, all right, man, I'm gonna give you your piece. If you think that, my bad.
Hey, bro.
Yeah. So, last thing. Well, yeah, that's it. That was wrapping up that point.
No, I mean, that was a good starting conversation because that kind of goes into what we were talking about because it's evolution. I don't think 4 years ago I would have been able to apologize, or 5 years ago, because I wouldn't have heard him. Like when he would have came at the way that because he came at not 10, but we were going back and forth at that point. So we already were passionate. So when he responded, he's like, shut the fuck up. I was like, oh, I had to gather myself for a moment because I was like,
you talking to?
But then at the same time, I was like, he made a valid point.
Yeah.
I was like, touche.
Yeah.
So just being able to see the evolution of me in that moment, to not be as triggered, to not be, it was great. You know what I'm saying? And that's my dog. We already know. Like that's really my dog.
I might need glasses because I can't see. I got to squint,
yeah.
but like I can see it. But anyway, talking about evolution, bro. So one of my friends was over here and he was like, yo, I never seen Alex as like a co-host. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I know you didn't. I always told y'all. But like, it's funny because he like, yo, I always seen him as like a behind the scenes guy.
Yeah.
It's two thoughts to this though. That's because that's what you created. So we always going to see something as the creation of it, right? And that's cool. But once you start to break that, it's like now people got to get used to it. But also having a vision that when you create something that even when it's time for you to break the original introduction of yourself, you had the vision all along. So when he said it, I'm like, okay, but in my mind, I'm like, man, I been was on this. Because when he said it, I'm like, it's funny that you said that because he said the same things about himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so we talking about evolution, and I'm like, man, how do you feel walking into this I wouldn't call it new, but I guess it's new for you.
I wouldn't even necessarily. So I've had like seasons. It's been seasonal. Actually, I remember I went back and I looked at a podcast that I did in 2016, like back in undergrad with some of my homies, and we did 2 episodes. Stop. So I've had like sprinkles of being in front of the camera, but I just was never comfortable. So it was like I'll start, I'm like, like I watched the tape because I obsessed with it. The problem is, like I heard Carson Beck talking about this, and I didn't understand it because he was talking about football. He was like, I can't watch a football game. Like
I think I hear him say that too.
and everybody was like, man, like why would you say that? Like you're an athlete, you're supposed to be going to the draft. And he was like, I don't enjoy it because like I'm going to be watching every little thing, every little detail. So I don't enjoy the football game or watching somebody else play because now I'm studying the game. And with me, with podcasting, I obsess over just media in general. So when I go back, like again, I'm on your page at least 100 times a day. I'm not even gonna hold you. So when I'm in this space, I obsess about it. Why'd you say it this way? Why'd you sound this? Why didn't you have this information prepared? So I'm like constantly criticizing myself on camera. As a producer, it's easy because like that's internal. But like I have to sit there and literally watch my takes and really study the game. And I'm like, dang, bro, like, is this healthy.
Mm.
But I've gotten to a place now where I'm like, no, for the place that I'm trying to go in life, you just got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And that's how you get great, though.
Yeah.
Bro, you get great by the repetitions,
Yeah.
right? I think somebody, I forgot who said it, but he was like, yo, I'm not no better than nobody else. I just do it at an excessive amount,
Mhm.
and then I become really good at it because I do
Exactly.
it so much, right? So it's like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's very healthy. I think you just care about it and you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
So now, I want to ask you, for somebody, because I've never been in that space, right?
Mhm.
For somebody whose job and career has always been behind the scenes, for those who might have jobs that's behind the scenes, or for those that might be introverts but want to step out and be on camera, right? What advice would you give them when it comes to like getting on camera? Because I have an idea, but I'm curious of what because you lived it.
I would say study the game, bro. Like
Mhm.
you really have to, while you're in a place behind the scenes, learn as much. If you want to learn as much about being on the camera, but you have an advantage because you know the world behind the scenes,
Mm.
right? So you can write a question, but then also study how do you deliver this question, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I've written a question for a host. Okay, how did he read the script, or a script for a host? How did he read it? What were his inflection points? Where was all this stuff? So you really have hands-on experience to study from start to execution. And I would say use that to your advantage because, man, I've been around great hosts and every one of them were different. But I have been able to really see from prime example, you, Faraji, Roland, 3 different hosts completely, but just to be able to get that insight, how do you now take all of those shared experiences and apply it to your now interviewing style, your on stage presentation, and everything in between, bro? Like it's tough.
Yeah, no, I think for me watching you and just I guess my own thoughts on it, I would definitely say it's no rush, right? Like take precedence of what you're doing now. So if you are behind the scenes, be great at that. Because I think if you're great at that, then when you transition, you'll be great in that transition because you take your time, you study, you know what you know what's going on, and you're going to do the same thing in that next chapter of your life. So I definitely would say like don't try to force it, right? Because you never forced it at all. It came to you almost, right? And sometimes we gotta go get what we want, right? If you want it, but I can honestly say I don't know if it'd be safe to say you didn't want this, but I know at the time Alex was more so like reluctant of it. You get what I'm saying? And it came over time, and now it's at a space where it makes the most sense. So yeah, just take your time.
Nah, and then to that point, you got to think of like how many people have gone through that path. You talk about your DJ Envy's, Charlemagne, to name a few, where they all started as producers before they were on their tag. DJ Envy talks about it. He was like, I was a producer first, then I got a shot. Sometimes you have to actually go through that rank.
Wow.
In like media, terrestrial radio, because to be on air personality, people think you just show up and sit down.
No.
And I always knew that, and that's really what it was. I think I always knew how much it really took to be a personality.
Okay.
I knew how much it took, like, to really commit your energy, your effort, bro. I'm talking about not too much without giving too much information. Hell could be burning up or freezing over outside, and I've seen hosts walk through that. Take a moment, go in the bathroom, come back, and like, I gotta present this product for 2 hours live.
You got to.
And you got everything going wrong and this, that, and the third, but you have to literally be a professional and stuff. And I had to ask myself, like, are you ready for that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if everything is going wrong around you, would you be able to show up and be the best version of yourself?
You got to. Like, I learned that firsthand in hosting. Like you might have a bad day. Hosting is at night. And you might don't feel like showing up, but you got to show up and put on your A game. And you know what? Before that, I saw it when it came to speaking and communicating through hosting. But I actually learned that in football. So I'll never forget my coach. My coach one day was saying, "Yo, I know school is hard. Y'all got it be things going on at home, but when you come out on this football field, it's time to play football." And I don't mean to be insensitive, but that's what this is. That's why we pay. Like you're getting paid for this. You're getting scholarships and things like that. And I'll never forget my coach said. He said, when everything is stacked against you, you feel like everything is going wrong. You had such a bad day. Do this. And for you guys that's listening, I'm gonna say it out so you can see it in your head. He was like, "Yo, before you jog onto the grass, before you jog onto the football field, take your hand, wipe it across your forehead, and act like you're throwing something away. So it's like you're wiping all of those problems away from your head and the internal and throw it away. So that way, figuratively, yeah, you're throwing away the trash. It's still there, but it's putting yourself in a mindset of like, you know what? That's before work. Now it's time to strap up and do something else. It's time to create some new moments. It's time to create more great things. It's time to create something that I can be happy about. Because if you allow that baggage to continue on moving forward, then you're always going to be down. But if I could just compartmentalize, put that to the side, yeah, that hurt my feelings. But now I have a new day, a new opportunity to create something that's going to make me happy.
I have a question for you for that, because this is very on brand with what we were talking about before, right? The numbers and looking at things of that nature. You've seen highs and lows.
Yeah.
How do you remain consistent in showing up even though the numbers change, like throughout seasons? Because you have seen millions of views, you've seen hundreds of views, you've seen everything in between, you know? Yeah. So how do you remain consistent? How do you remain, like, is that the same ideology that you take even though it may not be where it wants to be?
It's this so many nuances to this conversation because, like you said, I've seen it. So the experience almost is, because the experience is there, I know better, right? So I've done millions of views right in the middle of the month where I was only getting hundreds of views, right? So it's like, because I know that's happening and that can happen, why would I stop anything? That wouldn't make sense from my experience, right? So it's like the meteorologist or the weather person saying, yo, it's about to storm. You gonna go to the grocery store, because usually when the meteorologists say this, even though sometimes they've been wrong, most times they be right, right? So like, yeah, sometimes they wrong, sometimes they don't get it right, but for the most part, they be accurate. So I'm gonna go to the grocery store just in case, right? So in my case, it's like, yeah, a lot of times things don't go wrong, but then me keep being consistent, I get some numbers that go crazy. So why would I stop, right? And that's one part of it. And then another part of it is I be focused, bro. Like even now, right? I'm in this season of just organization and structure. So I'm not really focused on the numbers per se. My goal is structure. So even though, like, I always want the numbers to be big, don't get me wrong, but because I have a different goal, once the goal is met, I'm happy. I'm excited about that. So now I give myself other goals and other milestones to reach. Yeah. So the numbers might not be a milestone, but once this get done, now I'm like, yo, we got to get this. We got to get these numbers. We got to get this guest. I haven't talked about a guest in a minute because I'm not focused on it. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I need to get guests, but I'm like, yo, I need to get my shit in order first. So, I mean, that's another way too. Like, I'm always moving. I'm moving the milestones, always having new goals, always trying to be better in other ways.